Yeah, I hate that part. Okay, well, we can do that while we're doing it. Okay, all right. So, hi there. I'm Jason Melton. I'm the tall, goofy guy. Tonight we have Brit Hansen doing our first producer showcase. Brit is known in my world, from Jacob London, released tons of tracks. One of my favorite records of all time was on Eat House. Play it. It sounds like shit now because I've played it too much. I did ask Dave if it does actually sound like shit too. But I've asked Dave for a copy, and he's like, "Dude, that's somewhere on a DAT, and I don't have any idea." And I was like, "Oh, I just really want the stems from that." But anyway, and then plenty of other tracks on many labels, and also they both broke off and did solo artist work as well. And here we are, Brit Hansen.
Hi. So yeah, I'm going to be playing and then talking about a song that was produced about a year ago with a friend of mine who's a label mate friend on Hush Hush Recordings. He produces under the name Secret School. Totally recommend checking his stuff out. It's very, very cool. Hush Hush was coming up on their 100th catalog number release. So they did a collaboration EP, or LP, it was a huge actually, where they paired up label artists to collaborate on stuff. And we were friends and we lived nearby, so we collaborated and it went pretty well. Like we really, really had a good time. So we kept it going and we've now got a EP that we're shopping around, which has been really great. And we had, I think the process that we came up with is worth talking about for sure. We had never worked together before, and collaborating with somebody is always, it can be a little weird, either it works or it doesn't. So what we came up with was this process where we got together, talked about what we wanted to do, like what the vibe of the track that we wanted was. And then we agreed on a BPM, like a key, and just the overall sound of the track. And then went off on our own and came up with just a whole bunch of elements. And then once we each had a nice pool of just parts, essentially, we got back together and just mashed all the bits together and just tried stuff out, saw like what worked, what didn't, and it was really exciting. Just it's this cool process where you kind of get the benefit of working with somebody else, but also you're like hearing stuff for the first time, which you don't usually get to do when you're actively creating something. And that's creates kind of a special energy that you don't normally get. When you're excited about hearing something new, it's a little different than like something you've been listening to on loop for like 24 hours. Yeah. So then from there, then we figured out the parts that we liked together, and then one of us would eventually take that and like work on the arrangement, and then we'd kind of pass it back and forth normally from there. But it was a really cool way to start out. And actually, Dave and I are trying to start up a new Jacob London project using this same process because, like, just, we're adults with kids and jobs and like lives. And Dave's busy off being a superstar, and I have a full-time job, so it's trying to get together to collaborate on stuff is just almost impossible. So we're going to try this out too and see how it works for us. I think it's pretty cool.
It's a good process.
Yeah.
The new way of collaborating is fantastic.
Yeah. So this is called Felt. My friend Andy that I collaborated with is very, very musically inclined. Like he went to school for music and like knows music, like capital M, which has been really fun to work with him too, just having that kind of an influence, because I'm just more like, my big motivation when I'm making tracks is like, I want to recapture that like bad acid trip sound from like the like late 90s. You know, so then so then like he comes in and like puts like music over that, and it's pretty cool. I like it. Um, yeah, so I'm just gonna play it. There's a little bit of a break before any sound happens. It's gonna happen soon. Maybe it's happening right here. That's that one. One really cool thing about this process is kind of before this whole project, I was always very like, I didn't like freezing tracks or bouncing tracks down, or I wanted everything to always be like non-destructive and live and editable. But since I'm working with my friend who's been tossing like audio chunks at me, it's gotten me a lot more comfortable with just fuck it and just flattening stuff, committing to stuff, just dealing with it, which has been really nice. So this was kind of one of the first times that I really started doing that a lot more, which, I mean, there's a lot of MIDI here. It's not that flattened. But a lot of the stuff that I got from Andy, just these really nice pads. That's something I've been doing a lot more with stuff that we've done since then, and then my own stuff. Just freezing tracks, bouncing stuff, chopping it up, like, which, I mean, I feel like that's probably something everybody else has been doing since day one. But for me, I'm like, oh, this is so great. Like, it doesn't have to be just all like MIDI and VSTs. So that's my own little special late adopter tip. I feel like one thing I should definitely touch on that has personally been a game changer for me. I don't know on what level of like, duh, this is too, but after my first album on Hush Hush came out, I reached out to the mastering engineer and just asked him, like, was there anything that like you found in mastering my album that like maybe could be better, you know, stuff I could do on my end to make it sound better? And he could tell right away that I do all my mixing in the headphones, which I do, because all the low end was too heavy, and it was just really hard to compensate for that. So he recommended this specific frequency analysis plugin, and then kind of gave me some tips about how to use it to really make sure that you're not overloading certain frequency groups, and that you can identify holes where you're not loading frequencies up enough, and you can push those a little harder. And I did that for my second Hush Hush album, and I checked back with him afterwards, and he said there was a noticeable difference. So, like, essentially, what he told me is that you want it to be like, it doesn't need to be a straight line the whole time, but you want it to be pretty even, and you can use this to identify like maybe there's not enough going on here, and you could, like, drum loops are really good candidates for using an EQ to like shape how much they're loading certain frequency groups. You know, like drum loops happen to have like a lot of information across the frequency spectrum, so you can really like push down certain frequencies and bring up other ones and use those to help shape your mix and fill in where there might be some frequency like valleys or holes. And then also just being able to, you have a visual reference. You can see like where, because you're mixing in the headphones all the time, like your low end is just bonkers. And you can just see that and you can go, oh yeah, I'm being ridiculous. And you can bring that down. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Right. Yep. Um, so yeah, I put one of these on the master channel almost right away, and I'm not like, well, I am kind of obsessively checking it all the time as I'm coming up with ideas, but I would like to think that I'm not. Just kind of always keeping an eye on it throughout the whole process. That way, you're never at a point where you have to like fix a whole bunch of shit that's like just completely out of whack. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And this is free, which is great also. Yeah. It's a Vox and Go span. Yeah. Yeah, that's made a massive difference in my mix downs. Just that little bit of advice there. Nope. When stuff goes off to mastering, it's just a 24-bit, just stereo file. Always, want to try and leave like at least 6 decibels of headroom. Just try and keep it low for the mastering engineer. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I used to produce, like back in the Jacob London days, especially, like we would put like a mastering compressor on the master channel, like almost right from the get-go, just because it just sounded so much better. Yeah. Like I don't kind of figured out after a while that that's not the best way to do it because you're kind of lying to yourself the whole time. But yeah.
The only I'll have it on there, but I'll have it off, and then the only time I'll have it on is when I'm playing it for people, and I just want to
Right.
What a very basic mastering. Like, okay, I'll hit certain frequencies, and so it'll sound clean and everything. And then once I'm done playing, I turn those off and go back to mixing it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know if I'm in the ballpark of where I was in the first place, then when I hit those on, it'll just make it brighter and louder. And
Mhm.
okay, here's what it sounds like when it's might be later, but then turn it off.
Yeah. Yeah. I try and not let myself listen to it with that on too much,
No,
even though it sounds so much better.
yes, it
I'm just
does.
like, no. Yeah.
It's the magic button that you push. It's an EQ and a limiter. That's the two basic parts of a mastering chain. I mean, there's so many other plugins but basically that's what they're geared to do. There's some sort of a compressor, there's a limiter of some sort, and there is EQ involved.
Brit, I noticed a ton of plugins for percussion. Like it looks like you're using just a number of things for even just like hi-hats and stuff.
Mhm.
So Obscurium and Cyclops. Do you have any go-to plugins for percussion, and do you generally, synthesize all of your own hats and everything?
I don't really.
Yeah.
Um,
Kind of more unique.
Pretty. Yeah, I guess so. I've been doing a little bit more of it recently, but I've been pretty like sample dependent
Yeah.
for drums
Yeah.
for a long time. I've been having a really good time with Obscurium.
Yeah, actually, on that one, I've
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
That would be one that I would recommend for sure. It's like I don't know how to use it,
Sounds really cool.
like the way it's like meant to be used, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if I know how to use any plugins, honestly. Can you really know how to use a plugin even? If you want to get existential about it. But yeah, so like this is the Obscurium. Like that's what that's doing. And it's all these patches are built to no, this one's not free.
Okay, I was like, this is like, it's insane if this is free.
The sugar bite stuff is pretty reasonable though.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
it's not
like
bad.
worth it to invest for sure.
Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely. Like this,
Yeah, yeah.
if this works. Like this plugin's really built for making. You can like make like patterns, and like each of these, there's like the arpeggiator like pattern, I guess, or like the pitch that it modulates on, or the chord that it's playing, or certain parameters of the synthesis or the filter. Like you can set those with these kind of key points here, so that it modulates all of these things by like any range that you want to set over the course of this pattern. Like I just like using it to get weird like percussion things out of. But there's all kinds of stuff you can do with this. Yeah. And this is actually another Sugar Bites thing that's I don't use too much. It's a little weird. I mean, not that I'm not averse to weird stuff, but like I'm just using it for this.
Like, I would have never even known that layer was there. You just showed
Right.
that. But it
Yeah.
like, adds an element, obviously, to the song
Mhm.
that makes it part of the layers, but it's just such a simple.
That was a big game changer for me. Was just
Yeah.
adding a little shaker or like a 16th note. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, that was the missing element for the track.
16th note high end is just like the magic dust for anything, for sure. But yeah, this one's, especially if you're into really, really gritty, like grindy, bitey sounds, this one's really, really cool.
Well, and what's neat is to as you mentioned earlier, to kind of fill up those different frequencies. Like this sound could happen anywhere from 5 to 50K, and it's gonna sound cool. And
Totally.
add the rhythm.
Yeah.
So that spectrum.
And that's
show you where to land.
That's been one cool thing about using synthesizer plugins more for percussion is that they kind of have a wider possible frequency range. You can make them like it could be a hi-hat that actually has a lot of low-end information, which is cool. And I was just clicking around through my tracks while I was playing. I usually start with like a 16 bar loop that I beat into the fucking ground until I'm sick of it and I want it to just die. And then maybe I will force it into a track from there. Like that. That's an honest, it's an honest slice of my process. I've been trying to get out of that specific process for decades. I don't have any advice for you on that particular point, but some tracks just kind of happen. Like, I think everyone's kind of a little bit different. Like, you come up with a part, and then you add another part, and a third part, and those 3 parts are just amazing, and then it just kind of happens. And sometimes you spend literally 2 years just to get something like that sounds okay, which is cool too. Right. But yeah, I was kind of noticing. I think one thing that I do a lot is, like, I'm fairly sparse on effects on things. I've just like EQ stuff a little bit, and like push around those frequency ranges. But I like leaving sort of a majority of the elements light on effects, and then picking a few key elements to just pile on a shit ton of effects. Like then there's this one. I've got this, which if you haven't seen this, I also recommend this very highly. I use this one on almost every single thing I do. Sometimes I'll like double up instances of it. It's capable of just absolutely destroying your sound, or you can just give it a little flavor, which has been super cool. And obviously, it's super intuitive. You can tell exactly what's happening. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's nuts. No, it's not any of that. It's called Permutate. Yeah, I don't know about this one. Like you can get kind of bit crashy things or like glitchy. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's nuts, and I have no idea how it works.
It's a complex algorithm.
Yeah. And there's you can do really cool stuff.
Just call it magic.
Right. It's just magic. It's got a lot of cool MIDI features too. Like there's this MIDI control here. You can set to bits, frequency, or program. And the bits controls all these things. And these are what really, really create all the sound. Like, and you can control all of these with MIDI.
It just switches on and off.
Yeah. Or you can control this clock frequency here, which kind of like higher ranges are higher quality sound, lower ranges sounds really, really bit crushy and weird. Or you can actually use MIDI to flip through the programs in like a preset bank,
Okay.
which I've been doing in my live sets for a year or two. Just using this thing to like activate like certain patches on this to do little like
And
glitchy fills and stuff.
if you create your own patch, you're able to save that as your own like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes you'll find a patch like that's cool, but let me make a few. Oh, that's even better.
Right. Yeah.
That fits better.
And this is just an effect, right? Not a synth.
Right. And it's also comes with these like firmwares you can plug into it that actually completely change the functionality.
Transylvania. Ooh, is even a little. What?
Like it turns it into a completely different effect that does something entirely different. Like this one's like a rhythmic gator kind of a thing. It's like trance gator, so it's Transylvania. I mean, this isn't it's not a great part to showcase that on, but
Madeline will love that. I'll have to make sure she gets to that.
this is another one that I use all the time. Like the only reason I don't use it on like 8 tracks in a song is because it's pretty CPU hoggy. Like 2 or 3 is about all my little Surface Pro 4 can handle. But it's super great. Like I also very highly recommend checking this out. It's a multi-band distortion, and they have a pretty crazy selection of available like distortion algorithms. It's like 3 variations of this massive list. And they have this little like kind of just bonus knob that you can tweak the sounds out even more. Yeah. Yeah, I love this thing. I literally want to marry this plugin. Yeah, I mean, it's even just a really good like compressor. There's those kind of top 2 knobs there with the shape and the body, like those. You can do really, really cool like multi-band compression. Just add a really, really nice like body to your low end. I always have one of these on my kick channel for sure, and just jack up the low end a whole bunch. Sounds really nice. And another, where is it? Well, yeah, there's this too. This is, I kind of thought about bringing this up, but I knew I could talk about it right now, so I didn't. But your track with those crackly kind of atmospheric stuff, I think, like some of the stuff that I've been doing recently, kind of basically to get that same effect, you know, the kind of just atmospheric noise that builds in. These are both things I'll record just through the like mic inputs on my Surface Pro 4 and just run it into Fruity, and then through just some weird like modulated pitch delay effects or something. and just modulate that around and just record the ambient noise through just weird combinations of effects.
Yes, that's just a delay automation. It almost sounds like a clock. No, it sounds like a clock slowing down.
It's amazing what you can do with one sound and run it through certain plugins.
Yeah.
You can transform one sound into the most wildest thing that sounds nothing like
You
the
can
original.
make a whole song out of one sound.
Right, for sure.
Well,
Let's
as
see.
I was mentioning last week, there was a remix contest that we were into, and we challenged, Rob and I challenged ourselves to do one where we didn't bring any of our own sounds, and we were only using what was presented to us in the thing. So to get a hi-hat, we didn't like the hi-hat he had, so we took one of the singer's S's and turned it into a hi-hat.
In the song that I shared, actually,
It
all
was
the
like,
percussion.
we just got him going, and then I was like, oh, that's it, that's what we need, one S.
Yeah.
But that was like, because we were getting so bored with let's challenge ourselves. Let's use only like those sounds from the song.
No, it's just
So
over
you
there.
have to change your output.
Little
It's
ambience.
it's just on this. It's okay. But yeah, this is a recording of where I work in the office. I recorded just some of the ambient noise through like a couple layers of like long reverbs and some other stuff. And I've got a bunch from On the Bus, which those turn out really, really cool because there's so much going on. With like weird.
Record that now.
World has
and
so
here.
many sounds that you can use. It's amazing. All the superhero films, horror films, when you hear those monsters, that is a combination of earthly sounds that make those. So it's a mixture of sometimes
Control panel.
4 to 5 sounds. 4 to 5 sounds.
And yeah, like especially, there's a lot of effects are like synced to a BPM, so you can record something at a certain BPM, and then like all the delay taps will be synced to that BPM, and then you can just drop that into a track, and it just sounds pretty badass. Oh yeah, I'm very familiar with Paul Stretch for sure. So yeah, like just on the bus into work, I'll just sit there and just record the bus ambience and just tweak out effects and like mess with stuff. And it's been super useful. Like I have used this stuff on so many tracks in the last year. It just kind of always just sounds amazing. It's almost like one of those things. It's a little too easy, but it's fine. Real quick too, I want to highlight one process thing that I came up with recently. Just because it kind of blew my mind. I forget what the manufacturer of these plugins is, but there's this plugin that it's like a multi-band kind of splitter sort of a thing, where you can cut a signal, like really like hard cuts at certain frequencies, like this here. And if you have multiple instances of it, if they're all set to the same channel, they're all on one, it automatically syncs every instance that's on the same channel. So like this one's making my computer turn off. It's really cool. It was just, it was too cool.
It was too cool.
It was too cool.
You crushed it.
But what I was about to show you was that like every instance of that plugin, like if you move one kind of crossover point on one, it moves all of them, and you can put them on different channels, and it'll keep all of them synced, so that you can sweep those around and you can. I may not get to play it for you, but what I was doing with that was just taking some really simple, just like nice, just pad track, just like long sustaining just pad sounds, and then splitting that up into 3 channels and putting that plug-in on each one of them. At, one for the low end, kind of high, lows, mids, and highs, and then each one of those channels was going through actually that Transylvania permutate thing, and it was chopping up the signal on like a different rhythmic pattern and like running through other effects. So it was kind of creating this like system that just could just kind of create cool stuff on its own, almost like a sort of like a modular. Oh, look, there it is. Oh, it doesn't like that at all. Yeah, it's called gaffle. But yeah, so if I move this. Oh, but this one's not moving. Oh, unfortunate.
And so that's like a hard EQ basically
Mhm.
on that track. That track's just gonna play A basically.
Yep. This one will like play like A and B.
Yeah, totally.
You can like turn
They're nice.
frequency bands on or off.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So now all three of these are synced. So you can modulate this, which I think I'm doing in this. You can have this kind of like LFOing around, and it's completely shifting.
Now, you can do the same thing in Ableton with like an EQ3 is a great way to separate your low, mids, and highs. You just turn off the frequencies that you don't want, right? So you have one track where the low is turned on, one track where the mid's turned on, and one track where the high's turned on. But you can't, this is another level with the
Right.
ability to modulate it.
Yeah.
That's next level. Very cool.
But you can automate EQ also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but to automate,
Doesn't like
you
that.
have to do
Even a
several
little bit.
automation lanes to
Yeah, no, I
automate
mean,
them
it
all
wouldn't
at
be
the
as
same
clean as this by any stretch, but
Yeah.
if you wanted just some movement or some
Totally.
variation,
Totally.
you can do that.
Did you, when you switched your audio for your the other portion of your computer, would that
yeah.
have mattered?
Not happy.
Like when you switched to that one? maybe
Oh, that's possible.
differences, changed?
That's actually very possible.
Nice.
Love that sound.
Came through the speakers. Nice.
While this is loading up, does anybody have any questions? Anything going on in your life that you'd like some help with?
Do you have any tricks? Do you have any tricks for like getting over a creative like roadblock or just a dry spell?
I don't think so.
Oh yeah.
I wish.
Every day.
Yeah.
Oh, you
No.
got a question?
Yeah. I've been thinking about trying to release an EP soon. Aside from sending out my mastering tracks and such, any other suggestions for like releasing a first EP?
No.
All right.
No, I know. Like that's, I think just get it in front of people. Um, unless you're talking about like self-releasing.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm more the person. I just like to make something and then give it to somebody else.
And I suppose you said you're shopping around
And they're
for an
gonna-
EP right now, so you've got like some finished tracks that you're
Yeah.
basically reaching out to labels for.
Yep.
Okay.
Which that process hasn't actually started yet, but I have a couple labels in mind. So, I don't know. If you have any tips, let me know because that'd be cool. No, like back in the good old Jacob London days, like Dave Pesner always handled that. He was the one who was always hustling and stuff, and I never really wanted to do that, so I just let him do it. But now that we're not working together as much, and I have to do it on my own, I kind of have no idea. I've gotten lucky just with contacts that I have made over the years, just kind of working those. But now with this new project, like I kind of have to cold call, and I don't know. I'll check back in like 6 months and let you know. I might have.
Some have submission deals. Some of them.
Yeah, I was in a collaboration where it was the same thing, but yeah, no. But yeah, so how do you find your own identity once you're out of a collaboration?
I mean, the stuff that we were doing together was so much different than what I ended up doing on my own. Like we were very all about like just like animal noises, just like weird like Adult Swim cartoon samples, and just fucked up like make a track sound like it was train wrecking for a few seconds, like. Whereas now I'm always trying to like I hardly use samples except for drums. I'm just using more like synthesizers and arpeggiators and pads and just trying to make stuff pretty, which I've tried putting animal noises into that. And it doesn't really, it's just not the same anymore. So once we sort of put it on pause, I was able to just sort of go down that path. And it was so different. It was pretty easy to kind of find my own voice. But I would imagine if I wanted to keep making like funky, quirky house music, it'd be a different story. For sure. And this may or may not. Sounds better. Okay. So this is, nope, not that one. This is a pretty simple just pad. Sounds nice. But I've got it split out into these 4 gaffle channels. So this is modulating here, so it's kind of opening up the frequency range on this channel and closing it back up. So if I turn all these off, got this Transylvania situation here that's chopping it, and then the gaffle is isolating a bunch of the frequencies. With the best delay ever created. I try. And this one sounds like this. This one just got a lot of high-end sparkle on it. I really pumped up the low end for this to try and get like some beef in there. And yeah, actually, I did that with one of those bus ambiance things too. And this is a bounce down version of that. I think it's Metro bus ambience running through that same gaffle chain. I really like it. Yeah. 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 It does a really good job at capturing that like bad acid trip sound that I was talking about.
Exactly. I like it.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, kind of my closing thought would just fuck with shit. Like, layer shit on shit, turn the knobs, just play with it. Like I feel like that was most of my feedback on y'all's music tonight was basically just that. Just like, take these really cool elements you've got and just see how far you can push them before they start fighting back. Like, run stuff through like a few different delays, like just through random weird effects you don't even know what they do. Like, I think it's a really cool way to just add a whole bunch of flavor on your sound and just give it a really unique color.
And sometimes once you pair things on top of each other and it does get to that point where it's too much and it sounds like crap, there may be one little element of that other sound, of one of the sounds that you like, that just happens to puncture in a certain moment. You can, if it's MIDI, just record it and then just cut that one note that you want out so that you get the audio and you can add any effect that you want to that. But like, it might be just one sound and then you can take care of the rest. So
Yep.
like, you may have liked it for one reason, so keep that one reason and delete the rest of it. Because it will get muddy because there's too many things on top of it.
Yeah.
Same thing. And I've said that one before, and it's something that it was the way that Public Enemy used to make their songs. They would stack all the samples on top of each other until it sounded like garbage, and then they would subtract things until it sounded good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Van Helden did the same thing. That was his thing that he talked about.
Yeah, and that's basically my like whole creative process. You know, I get that like 16 bar loop that I just tweak out on forever and just keep adding layers to it until I think I know what the song is going to sound like in my head. It's like a delusion usually, and then I just like copy the whole block of things out for whatever, like 6 minutes, and then just start deleting stuff. And I know Dave Pesner, one of the reasons that we kind of started to not work so well together is that he started he would go into an arrangement and he would start with like the first 8 bars of the track. And then he would do the next 8 bars of the track and just go straight into just making a track, which I never felt like I had the confidence to do that, but I'm getting there. But I think the subtractive approach works in a pinch.
Yeah, it's really easy to just record the song for like your super loop for 6 minutes and then delete the things out that you're doing as you're mixing it, and then make your breakdowns from there. And yeah, it's a lot easier process. In my opinion, I've done it that way, and
Yeah.
I know that's kind of the way I tell people to try it. So, but it really works to however works best for you. When I posted that video of Pharrell in the studio where he never even added drums at all. It was just him building this track around no drums at all, and then built the drums around the track, which is so the opposite of what I would ever do. But
Yeah.
it's just how his creative process works, and it's some people work that way, and some people, super loop, or like Pez will go through and do his tracks 8 bars at a time, and I can't do that. I don't have that same confidence either. I'll do a little bit, but then in the end, I'm like, well, I'm not even going to end up in the same place by then. I'm like, where did I go? I went on a tangent.
Right.
So,
Like I feel like 2 months of tweaking on like a 16-bar loop, like that's when I come up with the one hook that is like sells the track,
makes sense.
which I don't think is actually true. It's just
It works for you.
it's just my brain lies to me and tells me that whatever I'm doing is not that great. But
So it is about 9:38. So I don't want to take up everyone's time anymore, and obviously any more of Brit's time. Just I'm sure she has to get home.
That was awesome.
So
Yeah.
round of applause for everyone. It was a pleasure.
yeah, this has been super cool, and I really genuinely love what you guys have here. I might be moving to Vashon soon, which kind of sucks because I was thinking
Party on Vashon!
like it would be cool to like make this more often. Which
At least for the producer showcases, it would be always great to have you pop in. It's once a month, but
Yeah.
whenever you can, obviously you're always welcome.
I like just the community, just like people giving feedback and stuff aspect. That's very, very, very cool.
It's been going for over 3 years, and it was like just a handful of us for the longest. Like there was about 3 or 4 of us, and then it grew from there, and it's had fluctuations of going from like 2 or 3 to 8 to back to 2 or 3, and then now all of a sudden it's like grown quite a bit more.
I'm offended that you didn't tell me until just recently.
Actually, it's because I'm a fanboy, and I was afraid to approach you about stuff like that. So
Okay.
I totally when I messaged all of you in that group, that's the first time any of you really heard about it. So I always kind of kept.
Like you said, best set of
Same thing.
cascade.
I did the same. I said the same thing. I said it took. I moved back